Merry meet and bright blessings. It is episode 6, and I'm going to actually be doing a series on the planets that we work with in the magical community, and tonight is the sun. So I'm very excited for that. I'm going to invite a few people, so I'm just going to share with a few people. We'll see who pops up. All right. So this is a safe space, a community safe space. And if I know you, or when my moderator Azrael shows up, if he happens to know you, I will let you up on panel until I get familiar with everybody in the community. And this is a place of discussion, so I would prefer no arguments. And just FYI, bots, you're going to be immediately banned when I see it. So, because this is not a place for bots. And welcome. So very excited tonight. So tonight's topic, again, is the sun. And the sun is just really amazing. And I really thought it would be a great time to have the sun as a spiritual topic, because we have a partial solar eclipse coming up on Saturday. So because it's partial, not everybody's going to see it. But how exciting, right? That we're going to have this partial solar eclipse, and it's bringing us like this amazing energy. And not only that, we happen to be in the sign of Aries. Aries, however, is ruled by Mars, where Leo, another fire sign, is ruled by the sun. So, but we are in the fire sign. So if you happened to join last night, I was on Alien Teas, and he happened to be doing fire. So this kind of meshes up with the discussion last night. So if you happen to follow Alien Tea, so very, very excited for tonight's topic. So I want to start with a story while we wait for other panel members. And this story takes place with the Norse god Sol. And Sol travels through the sky, and he has been chased by the wolf Skul. And Skul intends to devour Sol, the god. And I'm sorry, I said god, I meant Norse goddess, because she's a goddess. And Skul's brother Hades does the same to the moon at night, but we're not going to talk about the moon this week. We're talking about the sun. An eclipse happens to be the sign that Skul has dangerously come close to catching Sol and devouring Sol. So the Norse believed that one day the sun would finally be devoured by Skul the wolf. And when that happened, that is the foretelling of the battle of Ragnarok. And that is when the major gods would die and the earth would be engulfed in a massive flood. The apocalypse would wipe out the earth and clean it in order to repopulate with a pair of human survivors. So there's one of our mythologies. So if you've not heard that, or if you have heard that before, welcome to our spiritual discussion on the sun. So I'm very excited to bring this. So please feel free to watch in the chat. Hopefully I didn't miss anything, because I get a little passionate sometimes. So sometimes I do forget to look. And Sunbun, thank you so much for the gifts. Well, the lunar eclipse, it could potentially cause a flood. Yeah, I mean, it can cause all sorts of interest. Think about last year, that full eclipse that we had, and it was a pretty intense eclipse. And, a lot of people had very profound experiences with it. It does bring a very interesting energy, because you've got the sun and the moon colliding together, and it does change the energy in the atmosphere. So it changes the energy that we pick up. Oh, well, fun. Well, I'm actually teaching Norse mythology next month on April 20th, and it is going to be probably about a 4 hour long class. So it's actually on working with Norse magic, but like the first section is Norse mythology. And there's a lot with Norse mythology. I could probably do like a 3 day thing on Norse mythology, but it is a lot of fun. So, yes, that's just a little bit on the Norse mythology. And I want to thank everybody who's giving me hearts so far and those who are giving gifts. It's really highly appreciated. And thank you so much for joining tonight. So I kind of wanted to talk. So each religion and spiritual practice, they all believe in different things related to the sun. And that's what really tonight is about. Like, what are our spiritual beliefs? What can we get from this? Are we getting energy? What can we expect with the sun? Because it is very powerful. In my pagan beliefs, because I am a pagan and I am a practicing witch, and I also do practice druidry, it is a symbol of life and energy. And when you think about it, you cannot have life without the sun. I mean, like, we literally cannot, because life actually evolves from a little seed. So when we have like little seeds, those seeds plant and become strawberries or raspberries or lettuce or tomatoes, right? And they grow, become the fruits and vegetables that we need in order to survive. Now, also, we have animals, the herbivore animals, that have to have those plants in order to survive and to grow. And the plants are not going to grow without the sun. And there's lots of animals that rely on, eating in the daytime. Like, let's take rabbits, for instance. They usually try to hide a little bit at night because that's when, like, the prey comes out. Like owls love rabbits, right? And they're out at night because they're nocturnal animals. But there's a lot of nocturnal animals that hunt in the night. And that's when a lot of the daytime animals hide. And those that are like, who eat meat, you can't have meat if we don't have grasses and vegetables. It's just impossible. And they are not going to grow without the sun. But the neat thing is that we have to have all 4 elements in order for a plant to grow. But the most important thing is the sun. So it's critical for our well-being is to have sun. So the sun is the symbol of life, and it is the symbol of energy. And like, if you think about it, like in the wintertime, my energy level is just down. I mean, we don't have as much light outside. And, like, I work a regular day job, and I literally work while the sun's up in the wintertime. I start my job as the sun is coming up, and, like, it's setting towards when I'm getting off. I get my hour lunch break to enjoy if the sun is out. But like where I'm at, a lot of times, like, we don't have sun. Like, this was a really unusual winter because we did have sun most of the winter, but some winters we don't have sun. And like, it's gloomy and it just is depressing. The sun kind of brings us vitality and energy. So when we think about like our experience with it, and it warms. I mean, it's like, think about like our experience with it, and it warms. I mean, it's like, like I'll sit here in my witch cave in my basement, and it's cooler down here, and I'll sometimes be like, oh, I've been down here, my hands are cold. I'll just like walk outside, let the sun warm me up, and then come right back in and do whatever it is I'm doing, whether I'm going live with all of you or teaching a class. But the sun warms us. It gives us that vitality. And let's think about it. Like, when it's really hot, like I lived in Vegas for a while. And out of curiosity, I fried an egg on my driveway there because it was so hot. I'm like, will it cook an egg? And yes, it cooked an egg. So, like the sun can actually cook in some places where it gets really hot. So the sun is life and energy. It's also enlightenment and divine connection. It is our divine connection to something. And really, again, this comes back to what is your spiritual belief? What is your belief in your process? And feel free to share in the chat if you've got like any kind of spiritual beliefs, I'd love to read it. And I will let people up on panel as if anybody would like to come up. It also represents beginnings and renewal. And as we think about it with the seasons, again, like I was like saying, like winter, it gets dark. We kind of go into a hibernation. We don't hibernate as humans like animals like skunks and bears do. But we do. I mean, I personally sleep more in the winter. Like I can go on 2 hours of sleep when spring and summer and autumn are around, but like in the winter time, like I need almost 10 hours of sleep every night. But our energy is a little bit, it's lower. So it gives us that renewal when spring comes and the sun is coming out and we get to have more sunshine. Like it's so amazing to have that sun, have that revitalization, and have that healing energy, that renewal, that new beginnings. So, and the sun is like the center, especially when we look in our galaxy, we have the sun, and all of the planets revolve around the sun. So our cycle, not only do we have cycles with our seasons here on Earth, but we have the cycles with how it rotates and when all the planets become in alignment, when they are rotating around the sun and all of that amazing. Like it's just, you think about it, nature and the cosmos and the universe is just amazing. But without sun, we don't have that creation. So it's kind of a fun, just really a lot of great energy. Most deities in the pagan practices and the occult practices, most gods are associated with the sun or daylight. There's not as many goddesses associated, but we do have goddesses that are associated with the sun. So for example, I'm going to just throw out like the god Ra. He is the god of the Egyptian god of the sun, and his daughter Sekhmet, she is the Egyptian goddess of the sun. So we do have those. And I started tonight out with Sol, from Norse mythology. So we have to have like a little bit of fun, right? We have to have some of those great gods and goddesses as we're jumping through this amazing process. So, but the sun gives us so much beautiful love and beautiful energy. And that's what we really want to aim for is the sun. And welcome, Candace. Glad to see you back. And welcome, Rebecca. And Candace, again, I know you've been on panel before. If you want to come up, please just let me know. Just like hit the little invite thing and I'll let you up. So again, we're talking about the sun. So just as an aside, I want to thank everybody who gives gifts, especially when you give me hearts. We're almost at 500 hearts already. So thank you so much. And I am live every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday at 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's 8:30 p.m. 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8:30 p.m. Central. And so it would be 6:30 p.m. Pacific time zone. So you can just mark your calendars for that. And then just so everybody knows for Sunday, I want to make sure everybody has an idea for Sunday. Sunday is book club, Witchy Book Club. And we are discussing Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Miss. It is the first chapter we're discussing. And the chapter is going to briefly go over the 7 gates of power and healing. It's like very, very brief, because she has chapters that are going to go really in depth. But this is a really great book, especially like when you're on your spiritual path and you want to grow and evolve a little bit more. So fabulous, fabulous book. And please feel free to join. You don't need to come up on panel if you don't want to, and you can ask questions in the chat. But if you want to come up on panel because you've read it or you're like, I'm inspired, you can do that. So, and that is Sunday. But all right, we're going to get back to tonight's topic. So Thursdays are always a spiritual topic, and tonight is the sun. So I've like thrown out so much out there, and I'm kind of watching just if there's any questions. So please feel free to throw out questions in the chat if you have any questions at all on the sun. because the sun actually is so important to us, especially like I said earlier, like we can't grow anything without the sun. We don't grow without it. And actually, like if you think about it, like our bodies, we get a lot of vitamin D from the sun. And it's like that natural vitamin D. And if we didn't have the sun, wow, like our bones would have like so many issues, like because our bodies cannot absorb calcium without vitamin D, and our bones would be fragile and they would just break. So we would have really serious issues with our bodies. And that would also be the same for any animals on the earth that have like skeletal systems, because we have to have that vitamin D, we have to have that sun. So sun is like so important to be able to have. So we have to enjoy our sunlight when we can. Sorry, I'm just pulling up some of my notes. So I'm going to kind of like chat a bit about my spiritual practice for right now. And when, like in my paganism, in the magic that I practice, and this is just me, and I guess I could say some of my teachers, because I do have teachers that also believe in it. And that's where like my concepts came from, was some of my teachers. So we like to harness the sun's energy when we are shifting and transforming. And that is what paganism and witchcraft and the occult is we are transforming or shifting energy. So if we want to create something, we need to make that shift and that transformation. And that's actually how we grow, we evolve, and we heal, is by shifting something that's not serving us and changing that. So typically the sun is related to like life, vitality, to growth, to manifestation. And so a lot of things are done. I don't charge crystals in the sunlight. I work with my crystals very closely, but what can happen is if you forget about it and the sun's really hot and shiny, it can fade your crystals. So I would hate to take like a lovely crystal, like I would hate to take my little turtle. I would hate to take my jade turtle out and have him like get faded. But you can charge your crystals to get sun energy in them if they like that. My crystals are probably like, well, she lets us in the sun every once in a while, but not for that long, because I don't want them to fade. Especially ones that aren't on the surface of the earth. Like quartz, I don't mind if quartz is outside, but we can charge our crystals. And the cool thing is you can make sun water. And especially like this weekend, because we have the partial solar eclipse on Saturday, you want some partial solar eclipse water. Take out, especially when you want to make sure your water is out during the eclipse, and make sure that you will be able to see the eclipse from where you're at, because there's only certain places in the earth that will actually see this partial eclipse. So I unfortunately won't see it, but we're going to feel the energy, because let's face it, the sun is humongous, right? And like it's putting off energy. And so we're going to feel the energy from the solar eclipse. But if you are where you can actually see where it's happening, and like if you're in Maine, it looks like Maine and parts of Canada will get this partial solar eclipse. When I was looking at the map, during the solar eclipse, you can put your water out, and then as soon as it's done, you got to take your water in, because then you're going to have solar eclipse water, and you can use that water in your magical practices. You can bring that energy into your life that you need, that the sun has for you. So that's kind of a fun thing. So yes, we can make sun water. I know like a lot of people talk about their moon water and everything, but yes, you can make sun water, which is like it's super fun to make it, right? Whenever we can make anything magical, let's do it. So at least that's my thought process. I love being creative and I love making things. So another thing that we can do is like, there are certain rituals that we do that like I perform, especially like when I'm doing weather magic, where I've had, I'll do weather spells in the summer, and capture the sun's essence, so that if I have a gloomy day in the winter, I can release that sun energy and take that sun energy into me. And that's another reason where like charging sun water is really good, because you can take like your bottled waters outside, charge it in the sun, and then just hold it for those gloomy winter days, and just, drink up some sun from your water if you need to have like that energy. And that's a fun way to do it. So if you've not tried that before, that is really super fun. And especially if you're a practicing witch and you're like, wow, I haven't done that before. Yeah, it's something fun to do. So, but there's a lot of different types of rituals, and there are certain things we do want to do during the sun. Casting circles are really good if we want to do rituals in order to make sure that our crops grow. We would definitely want to do them in the sun, especially the noonday sun, because that's like a time for growth and where we're going to get that energy. So as we're getting ready to plant outside, like I'm hoping it warms up. We'll get up into the 70s here, and then it drops back down to the 40s. And I'm like, I can't plant yet because we have too many cold nights. But, when we get this sun going, it's really like you want to have an abundance of like a certain herb. Like if you're like, I want tons of lavender this year, do a ritual around your lavender. Give your lavender like that extra love it needs. Or if you want juicy strawberries that are just like, ooh, right? I can't wait. Like my strawberry plants, they're just waiting. They're waiting to come out of hibernation right now. I keep checking on them, but I know it's a bit cold. But, right? Like, it's so nice to like pick a strawberry in the summer when it's just being kissed by the sun, and have that nice warm juicy strawberry and take a bite, right? So the sun is super amazing for that. So we can do a lot of rituals, and if you are going to do a sun ritual, it is really good to do them at noon. That is like a really good time to soak that up. Herbs that are, some of the herbs, I work with the herbs and crystals quite frequently, and I do teach classes on them. So if you're ever interested, my crystal mastery and my botanical mastery are literally classes just associated where you're going to in-depthly learn different herbs and crystals and how to use them in your magical life and your mundane life. So I do go into that kind of fun stuff. But some of the herbs and crystals associated with the sun are like calendula. And if you think about calendula, those are marigolds. They are like little, I remember when I was little, like I told my grandma they reminded me of looking at the sun. And my grandma said, well, okay, don't look at the sun. It's going to damage your eyes, which, okay, I don't know. Honestly, I think I have to have glasses because I also liked to read by candlelight as a kid. So I'm sure that's probably where my eye damage came from, not looking at the sun. But she told me, she said, that's funny that you say that, because calendula, aka marigolds, are, my grandmother was a gardener and she did work with herbs, but she was like, yes, in the flower community, she said, this is the flower of the sun. So, like, and when you look at them, regardless of if you get yellow ones or orange ones, they just are bursting with so much love and energy. It is like having like a little piece of sun in your hands. So it's a great, if you want some sun, have some. And I have had them bloom year round. So if I do it year round, I usually just have them in a pot, because you do have to plant them over and over. But what will happen is sometimes, like when they start to die off, their seeds, actually the petals kind of shrivel up and become the seeds. If it falls in the grounds, they resprout. And one year I did bring them in the house, and I was able to have the marigolds all winter long. So I was very surprised. I thought, hey, I'm going to test this, and it did work. So just if you want something fun. And one crystal, citrine. Citrine is a really fabulous crystal to work with the sun. But my favorite is literally the sunstone. I mean, it's even in the name, but the sunstone has like this burst of energy where you're just like, wow, what is this that I'm holding? You're holding like a little burst of sunshine in your hands. So if you want to work with crystals or flowers associated with the sun, there's just a few. I mean, there's quite a few, but there you go. There's a couple of them. And I did want to touch on this. I'm really bad. I don't do it as much in the wintertime, and I probably should do it more in the wintertime. But if you do yoga, and if you don't, there is this beautiful yoga pose. Well, it's called the sun salutation. I first learned it actually when I started doing yoga in high school. And it is really refreshing. It's a great way to start your day because you're literally stretching your whole body and you're moving your legs. You're moving your arms, you're moving your legs, you're stretching. And it is a great way to do it. So in the summertime, spring, summer, and autumn, I literally take my yoga mat first. I wake up a little bit earlier, go outside, do my sun salutation, and I actually face the east while I do it. Go through, do the sun salutation, and then go on with my day. So if you haven't tried that, try doing the sun salutation. And it's really, like, if you've never done it before, you can find so many videos with yoga instructors just walking through doing the sun salutation. And you can find, actually, if you just like go on the Google machine and put in sun salutation, you'll get links to videos, and you'll actually get links to the sheets that will like break down each pose for the sun salutation. I don't know if anybody who's in here, I know there's quite a few of you right now, if anybody's done the sun salutation, if you want to like say, I've done it, feel free to, pop in and say you've done it or you haven't done it. So those are just a few things that you can actually do to work with the sun. So you can, we can do rituals at sunset and sunrise. Those are, like I was just saying, the sun salutation, there's a ritual that you can do at sunrise. When the sun is going down and we're drawing on that energy, this is when we're calling on the sun to empower our spell work. We can do that at any time. It's called drawing down the sun. So we've got drawing down the moon and drawing down the sun. So if you are a practicing witch, and if you're new, like, there you go. There's like a little fun little hint for you of some fun stuff that we can do. And wow, I'm really excited for this weekend because we do have that partial eclipse. I won't be able to see it from Chicago, but I'm very excited for it anyway because it's you can already feel like a shift in energy with what the sun is doing right now. So that's always like really nice and really super enjoyable. So tonight, our topic, because I see people coming in, and thank you so much, those who have just joined. I am RowanRavenwolf, and I am a practicing witch. I do consider myself a pagan. I am a high priestess too. So I do teach classes, and if you are not following me, please make sure to follow, and you can always click my links in the bio to go check out what classes I am teaching. And I do want to make sure everybody knows I really appreciate everybody who likes my live and everybody who sends gifts. It just brightens my day. It makes you guys my sunshine. So, and I hope I can spread the love and be your sunshine. So, and the sun is actually also, it works with fire. So we have that amazing fire energy from it too. When we work with the sun. So, and we have so many beautiful, wonderful things. So the sun, over the centuries and over a long time, it has always been, it rules over the day and the day cycle, but it also rules over the year cycle. And we can harness that sun energy. It helps us shift and we can grow from it. So we are literally in spring. So it's been spring for what is today, the 27th. So yeah, it has been a week because I did not, last week was the first week I did not go live on TikTok since I started going live because I was doing spring equinox ritual. I didn't plan it very well, but actually when I had planned ritual, it was before I started going live on TikTok, or I could have done ritual a little earlier. So you can always join me for rituals. My rituals are on Zoom, so that way anybody around the world can join in on a ritual. But we are in spring, so it is a time of growth, and I'm hoping like today is a cooler day. Like yesterday it was so nice outside, and today it cooled down, like dropped 20 degrees in temperature. But we have that dormant energy is starting to dissipate because the sun's coming out and it's warming the earth, and we're getting that sun energy within us, and we're going to start getting our vitamin D back from it, right? Like right there is just like a big thing. It's like a big boost. Like I love I'm not going to kid you. I love the moon. Like absolutely love the moon. But I do have to have the sun, and I have to be able to enjoy like nice walks in the sun, or I love to just sit and read outside in the sun or meditate in the sun. It just brings just kind of a fun, unique energy that we all kind of need, like a beautiful boost, It's invigorating. It's like, yes. Like, even though it was cold today, the sun was out, and I was like, you know what? It's okay that it's cold because the sun's out. Granted, I did walk outside in a tank top, and I quickly put this shirt on. Not that this is much warmer, but I was like, not quite tank top weather. So, we do have to kind of watch for that. I mean, because it is going to take a little bit because the earth has been cold for, a while. So it does take a little time for the sun to do this. So, right now, as we're working with the sun, whether we're doing our spiritual life or our mundane life, this is a good time if you love gardening to plant your vegetables, your herbs, your fruits. And if you just love flower gardening, it's like a time to do flower gardening. And, there are a lot of flowers that we can actually eat. And it's kind of fun to be able to do that. So if you've not tried that, it is really fun to be able to eat some of them. One that I love to eat is lavender. So I actually get culinary lavender because I don't use pesticides in my yard, but my neighbors on both sides of me do. And just because of wind, I try to cover my herbs, and I start them in the house and then I take them outside because they usually only spray like at the beginning because they don't want their dandelions. So my yard's literally like, I saw my dandelions starting to pop up too. They haven't opened, but they're like the stems are coming through the ground. My yard is my grass is literally green and yellow. So, but dandelions and crocuses are like the first flowers of spring, and the bees need those to start like start pollinating and honey. I'm sorry, I love honey. Honey is actually also associated with the sun. So, and the bee is actually a symbol of the sun. So I should have said that earlier when I was kind of talking about the crystals and the herbs, but there's a couple more symbols for you if you would like. So, but yeah, so I actually get culinary lavender, and you can, the first time I tried it, I actually tried it in lemonade. And recently I'm so excited. I found a pound cake that they made a lemon lavender icing to go over. I am going to make that because it sounded really good. It's just like one of those thin, the thin icings that you make for it's the glaze, I should say, not icing, glaze that you would put on your bread. I also thought that might be kind of really yummy on banana bread. So I think I might try it. But I had years ago found that you can use culinary on chicken. So we eat a lot of chicken at my house, and I actually started putting it on chicken, and it has just this, you're either going to like it or you're not going to like it. My husband cannot stand it. So when I cook with the lavender, he's always like, don't make mine separate. So I have to make his separate because he doesn't like the taste. But yeah, you do have to have a taste for it, because I have a few friends that are like, oh, I don't like it. And I mean, you either like it or you don't. But yeah, the lavender tastes really good. So get the culinary lavender. But yes, we can eat some of our flowers. So, and that's not like one of the only ones. I mean, you think about it like chamomile. That's a flower, and we can eat chamomile. So, we make that. A lot of people have that in tea. You can actually also use that on any, like you can even put it in salads if you wanted. So, ooh, I need to try the lavender in salad. That would be really good, I bet. So, yeah. So, but you want to make sure you get the culinary lavender, and it's really easy to find. There's lots of places. There's a lot of places you can get culinary lavender. So it doesn't have any pesticides. I'm really picky. I make sure that mine have no GMOs. They're natural, organic. I'm like that crazy. I'm that crazy person, I guess you could say. So right now we're in that the growth time, springtime, and that's what the sun is to us right now. It's that growth and that spring. And we're a ways away from summer, but we're talking about the sun. So I need to address the sun and how we work with it in the summertime. So the sun's energy in the summer is at its highest point. This is when it gets really warm, and it really warms the earth, right? This is when we want those strawberries that are sun-kissed, because they have just that, you pick it from your garden and eat it. Like, you could not ask for anything better. I don't know if any of you have had that. Like, feel free to comment if you have, because warm strawberries picked right off the vine. Yummy, yummy. Like, honestly, it's my favorite time of year. That and the raspberries, picking them like right when it's nice and warm in the summer and they're ready and red. Yum. But summer times, the sun energy is at its fullest. It's at its brightest, especially at summer solstice. So summer solstice is on June 20th. And actually, on Tuesday, during Tuesday Tarot, when I was live, Azrael was here with me, and we were talking about the cemetery we go to here. And it is known as Little Stonehenge, or the mini Stonehenge, in the Chicagoland area. And it's where a bunch of Druid community members are buried. And it actually, I was realizing as we were talking that it is actually lined up with summer solstice. So when we think about it like Stonehenge, it's lined up with summer solstice. Now, all of a sudden I'm blanking, and I had it written down and I left it in the other room. There's a cave in Ireland that at winter solstice, the sun goes right into the cave and lights up this beautiful cave in Ireland. But you can't see it otherwise, like it's dark. And summer solstice is on the opposite side, so it's not by the entrance. And the entrance is the exit also. So you can't see in. But where we're going with that is the sun has always been a form of worship. And when we're looking at Stonehenge, there's a lot of theories on it, that the pagans, the Druids, and the Celts used it as a place of worship. What is really interesting is that archaeologically, they have found that there are people buried there. It is set up with the concentric circles, which corresponds with the pagan Druidry and Celtic practices. But yeah, it does face. So the altar actually faces summer solstice, and in winter, it's literally aligned up so that summer solstice and winter solstice can be practiced there perfectly. It's a perfect alignment. So make it a goal if you ever want to go. Like, there's always thousands, well, probably hundreds of thousands of people show up. And you've got like a lot, like, it's on my bucket list to get there for summer solstice. So one year I'll be there, and I'll go live from summer solstice from Stonehenge. It won't be this year. I wanted it to be. Won't be this year. So one year it will be me. So welcome, Azrael. We're talking about the sun tonight.
Sun, sun, Mr. Golden Sun. Won't you shine on me? That's what we're talking about, the sun.
We are talking about the sun. I was like inspired to talk about the planets. So for the next 9 weeks, it's gonna be, well, sun this week, moon next week, and then after that, I'm gonna go into the magic of the planets. Yes, tonight is the sun.
Got home a little while ago. I'm trying to wind down, and hopped on here. I was in the E-way when I got the message that you were on a live, you know, but I was trying to rush home and I couldn't find my earpiece. So I'm here. So yeah, the sun is a beautiful thing. I think, it's actually one of the biggest symbols that we can utilize because, we talk about spirituality and we talk about many things. And one of the symbols that we see besides the sun is the spiral. And I believe the spiral is representing the cycles of life, and like the seasons. The sun rises, the sun sets, the moon rises, moon sets, and we're talking about the sun. And the sun is the energy field. Without the sun, it will be in pure darkness. The harvest, all the plants, the flower, everything depends on the photosynthesis of the sun, is including us as human beings. Needless to say, we're not plant life, we're human life. But a lot of individuals, they're feeling down and blue, and out. If they get yourself and expose yourself to the sun light just, it shines on you. It makes you warm, and beautiful. And there's so much into it. And I don't want to squeeze all that into 2 minutes, but yes, so I'm going to listen in a little bit, Rowan. But I just want to, remind that, when we think about the sun and us as individuals, the connection with it is that the sun is also called soul, the SOL. And us human beings also have a soul, you know. And think about it. If we just eliminate that you, which we can eliminate you, we don't want to eliminate you because you are you as I am I, and you are me as I am you. So the soul in you is the soul in me too. So in other words, we're all souls. And the sun is a reminder of, we are energy. So I'm gonna listen in.
Fabulous. I did tell this story about the goddess, the Norse goddess Sol at the beginning. So, because it said that if school devours her, the wolf school devours her, that Ragnarok starts. But we don't have to worry about it. We have the sun, so we're good. Ragnarok's not starting anytime soon. So for those that actually believe, and hello, Daniel. So, I was right before Azrael joined, and I'm so glad Azrael's up. Talking about summer, and so summertime is just an amazing time, and that's when the sun gets so warm that all of our plants start to grow that we cannot, none of us, animals, humans, we can't survive without any of the plants. So that's when we're starting to get ready to actually eat our lovely plants. And so this is when the sun's picked up momentum when we hit summer. And, this is the time when we're like just run around and we're like, we forget that we need to sleep, right? Because we're just enjoying the sunshine. So, autumn time, when we are thinking about the sun, it's a time of reflection. It's the time that we start to slow down. We start to harvest. We start to enjoy the bounty that the sun gave us. And, we still have the sun. Days are going to start to get shorter. It's going to start to cool down a little bit. And all the hard work and the play that we got to do during the bright summer hours, we're just kind of like, all right, now we got to kind of relax. We like lived it up. It's time to relax. And this is the stage when sometimes we might realize we overdid it. I mean, I don't know about you, like, I do hit a point where I'm like, wow, I was outside a lot and I'll forget and come in red, right? Because the sun does make us a little bit red sometimes. Reminds us, oops, you should have put sunscreen on. But autumn gives us that time to reflect on the sun's energy, reflect on the energy that we've had for the whole year and what energy we want to maintain for the rest of the year. And then we move into winter, and this is our rest time, and this is when the sun rests for us. And again, like, we don't see much, and the sun's energy is at its lowest point when we are in winter. And what do we use to substitute the sun in this time? This is when we are using our fires and our hearths and our fireplaces to warm us up and warm our homes and increase that energy. So we do. And again, the sun is related to the element of fire, but sometimes we do have to bring a little extra fire in, and we do in the winter. And what is really fascinating about this whole concept is we use more herbs associated with fire in the wintertime. And most of those herbs are also associated with the sun. And when I say that, I'm talking about cloves, star anise, cinnamon, oranges, lemons. That's when it's prime time to pick those oranges and lemons, and we really need them, right? And I mean, when we look at them, they remind us of the sun. But all those lovely spices that we work with, like, especially like if you like hot mulled wine, all those beautiful spices, they're warm, they're hot, they are associated with the sun, and they're associated with fire. So winter is when we rest and we really see that the sun feeds and nourishes us. That's that time for us to have gratitude for the sun, but for us to also rest with the sun and know that spring will roll around again, and that we get to relive that beautiful sunshine once again when spring rolls around. So we have like so many fun things that we can do when we are working with the sun. So with that, I've kind of like given a lot about just the sun. I didn't even realize, like, like when I'm writing it down, I didn't realize like how much there is. So, but there is a lot. I mean, there are literal books on working with the sun. So there is a lot on that. So, and the planetary magic books, there's usually at least one chapter just on the sun when we jump into those. And so before I do a little bit more of a deep dive and make Azrael jump back up again. So, please feel free if you want to join panel, say hello, and we can let you up if there's anything you want to add about the sun. I am going to like throw out a couple questions, and we're going to share our spiritual thoughts on. Please don't forget to give me hearts. I love the hearts. And for those that have given gifts, we really, really appreciate it. It does mean a lot to us. So, and just as a gentle reminder, I am live here on TikTok every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And tonight is the spiritual topic of the sun. Next week will be the moon. So, we've got to have light and our dark together. So, all right. I did want to talk about sun gazing before we move on. So sun gazing is actually a meditative practice that you start either at sunrise or at sunset, and you literally stare at the sun while you're meditating. So it's like a meditation that you're literally going to gaze at the sun. And it is when the sun is at its least harsh, especially at sundown. But this is a way to connect energetically with the sun, and will give you a lot of healing energy, but it's also a really great way to connect with nature. So it's a fun way to actually work with the sun. So it's another, I know I forgot, I probably could have added that a little bit ago when I was going through other things we can do with the sun, but yes, sun gazing is like something really enjoyable. So like have a minute and go try it. I love being outside when the sun goes down, and I try to get out when it's coming up. Sometimes I'm out before it is, but because I do like to do the sun salutation when I can. I'm really bad. I should do it in the winter, but yeah, I only do it in the spring, summer, and autumn. So before I jump into questions, Azrael, I've kind of like, whew, and I'm getting really passionate too, so I might be talking too fast. So if I talk too fast, anybody please tell me to slow down. Because when I get excited, because I'm actually an Aries, so I am a fire sign, so I get like animated, excited, happy. So, but Azrael, anything you want to add on the sun and what I've just kind of gone over?
It's just so much. It's something that's so easily overlooked, but you know what? eons and eons of ancestors, from all different aspects around the world, worshiped the sun and gave praise to the sun. They knew that we depended on it. Not only us in the future, but also, for them in the past, it was something that was relevant to them. It was something that they needed to know and say, what, we appreciate it because so much was shown through it. One cannot appreciate the colors of spring and summer without the sun shining and so forth. So, there's so much in it. And, it gives us, the food that we harvest and the warmth in our bodies, it's holistic. It's one of the holistic cures that we can have that it's so easily overlooked as well, with the current state of, commercials and media and all this stuff. We are shown stuff, but when we already know, that the sun is there for us for a purpose, so it's deep, and that's something that definitely we should talk about it. And I'm eager to listen to what everybody else's perspective.
Yeah. Yes, and if anybody wants to come up on panel, please feel free. And yes, please share the live. Thanks, Jess, for sharing the live. I really appreciate it. And thank you to everybody who's given the live hearts. We really appreciate that. And please don't forget to follow myself and Azriel. And Azriel, oh, you know what? We're just going to do like a little add this in there. What is your spiritual panel on at 10:30 tonight? 10:30 Central Time, 11:30 Eastern. So literally when we log off here, we can jump on Azriel's live. So Azriel, sorry, you don't get a break.
Well, what I'm calling it is, the title is called Dance of Time. And basically, it's just, embracing, the past, the present, and the future. We discussed this in many different topics. And, due to the fact that, everybody has different perspectives, it's a good thing to, bring all aspects of past, present, and future in this current state and understand it because, we can learn a lot of lessons from our past, here in the present, and allowing that awareness to resonate with us, we can utilize this present moment to actually bring forth future possibilities of what we want in our lives, whether it's ourselves, our family, or whatever resonates with us. So it's acknowledging the past, present, and future in the present, and to know that they all work for us. Each aspect is working for us. So we're going to dance in time. So we're going to go from the past to the present to the future, past to, so that's basically what it is, the dance of time.
Yes, and we can dance barefoot in the sun.
And in due time.
Yes, yes. I'm like nature's teasing us here in Chicago because like we have like a really nice day where we're like, yeah, we can pull our sandals out, and then the next day the temperature drops 20 degrees. It's like, nope, it's soccer day. It's coming. It's coming. I can feel it. All right. So, before I actually ask one of the first questions, I just want to reiterate how the sun is a symbol of life and energy, and it is divine illumination. It gives us so much life, especially like, I mean, when I was young, we would lay out hours on end in the sun, and it was just enjoyable to lay. I mean, I still love laying in the sun, but we do need to be careful of the UV lights, right? The UV radiation, or is it radiation? Whatever. The UV, we need to because I burn now. I used to not. But the sun has such an important impact on the natural world and our ecosystem. None of us would survive without the sun. And I think we have to look at it without the sun, it affects our mind, body, and our spirit. So when we think about it, we tend to sleep more in the winter, but if we didn't have sunlight like every day of the year, we would not be able to survive, because we do have to have that vitamin D, like I said, which we get from the sun. I mean, we do find it in foods, but a lot of the foods that we get it in wouldn't grow. So, like our ecosystem and the universe really does rely on the sun. This is why it's the center of our galaxy, right? Is because it is life. It is life for not just our planet, for other planets. So, we do need, it's really important. So here's the first big thought. And if you want to come up, please feel free to just request to come up. But here's the big question, Azriel. How does the sun play a role in your personal practice, whether it's your spiritual practice or your mundane life?
Good question. And I'm looking. Hey, Ripple Horizon. The panel's open if you want to come up here. We're just starting. How I look at the sun as part of my ritual or part of my day to day.
Both, either.
Okay. Yeah, so I look at it, in the same concept, like, we discuss spiritual alchemy and stuff like that. I definitely believe there's a purpose for the sun. And let's say we have I'm just going to give you metaphors because I like to speak in metaphors. Let's hypothetically say I did some laundry and I did the laundry, but I don't have a dryer. So I can't hang out my laundry outside to dry overnight. So it's appropriate for me to actually hang my laundry out in the daytime where the sun will actually dry away the clothes, prevent it from getting moldy and stinky from, staying wet all overnight like a wet mop. So basically, us as individuals, the sun is utilized for us to actually, like spiritual alchemy, calcination. We utilize it and absorb the energy, welcoming it. In other words, we have to acknowledge it. Mr. Sun or whatever you want to call it. I'm here. Please release me of any negativity, stuff stagnant on me. So I'm using the sun to actually cleanse myself. So it's actually a cleanser because if you really realize plant life and everything needs the sun, but it doesn't grow in the light. So in darkness under the moonlight is where I utilize the other energies that I do. So the reason I use the sun will be to cleanse myself and being clear of anything that could be stagnant with me. So in other words, the energy that the sun gives me, the soul, is actually releasing any stagnant energy, that might be lingering that I was not able to release with a meditation or so forth. So it's being in the air of it, and being in the presence, the shining on it is that anything that's on me that is visible that does not resonate with me, I absorb the sun and actually flush it out. So it's utilized as a flush out, if that makes sense. And that's the way I use it, on a day to day. It gives me that understanding that the sun rays will tap into whatever chakra is needed to balance, and so forth and so forth. So it's a very, very powerful tool. And, I thank you for actually bringing up that question because that's the way I utilize it. And I encourage many other individuals to do the same. When we're sick, and we're feeling sick and everything, we see the sun and we never take in consideration, maybe, just maybe, I can actually push that cold off of me if I absorb the rays of the sun. But you have to attune yourself, almost like an affirmation, but the affirmation is not your affirmation. The affirmation will be the connection between you and the sun rays, the energy, because the sun is like an egg yolk. And with that, I'm going to yield. Yeah, I'm going to yield.
And it's funny that you say that. Like I had said earlier before you came on, when I lived in Vegas, because it gets really hot there, I was just like really curious. And so I did actually crack an egg on my driveway and it cooked it. So, and actually, like, funny story. So we had some neighbors, my kids called them the creepy neighbors because they moved in and they would like stare through their windows at all the children playing, which was really like it really was creepy. But the and they weren't, it was weird because they were like at the time maybe in their 40s, and they had little kids, but they wouldn't let their little kids play with anybody else in the neighborhood along, whatever. But they went on vacation and some of the older kids a little further down the street because they weren't like the nicest people and they'd yelled at some of the kids for playing too loud in the middle of the day. They threw an egg on the roof and it cooked. So they had like cooked eggs on the roofs. But yes, the sun can cook eggs. So like it just tells you like the sun is extremely powerful. Um, and like actually like I remember when I was little, like this is the goofiest thing, but I loved watching Little House on the Prairie. Yeah, I'm aging myself. So, because it was like we didn't have reruns. I mean, I was watching it when it came on. And there's an episode, Mary has glasses and her wagon has rolled over and her glasses fell off her head. And she's literally losing her eyesight anyway, so she can't see very well to find her glasses. And Pa finds her because her glasses, like the sun hits the glass and it caught some of the weeds on fire and it created a fire. And I remember when I was watching that episode, I said to my dad, I'm like, can it do that? And, my dad's like, yeah, you can do that. So we would take my grandmother's reading glasses and create little fires with weeds. So, because it was like, oh, this, like, it was like, I was like telling my cousins, I was watching this and apparently you can really do this. And so when grandma wasn't looking, we grab her reading glasses and use her reading glasses. It does take a while. Like magnifying glass, it goes much faster. So if you've not tried it, but yeah, the sun is extremely powerful. And I love that, Azrael, because we can use it as something to cleanse with. Just like in magic, because the sun is associated with the element of fire. And the element of fire is associated with the planet of the sun. It's also associated with Mars. But, we're talking about the sun tonight. And, I like to incorporate, if I'm like, well, I need more fire in this spell that I'm doing, I love to incorporate noon because that's when the sun is usually at its peak. And it's a beautiful time to do magic if you need to add a little extra fire to it. So, but I mean, I love to just read outside in the summer, even in the spring when it starts to warm up. It's so enjoyable, and meditations. And like I said earlier, I love doing the sun salutation, but I don't do it in the winter. I should do it in the winter. But I don't. But the sun salutation, it is yoga. It's yoga pose. And it is really refreshing, especially when you do it first thing in the morning. So when I do it, I literally face east. So it's kind of like I'm waking up, good morning, sunshine. And it's just a beautiful stretch. It's like, you can't stretch better than that, really. So I feel like, it was really easy to incorporate the sun into my magical practice because you start to realize how much we utilize the sun in our mundane lives. Like when we're gardening, when we're wanting to go to the swimming pool, we don't usually go too much at night because it's too dark unless the pool's got lights or it's a full moon. You can't really swim well in water unless you've got light. But it's also nice because the sun warms the water, so we do use that, and it is very cleansing. We can cleanse with fire. We can cleanse with any of the elements, but the sun is really important for cleansing. So I'm really glad that you brought that up, Azrael, because that is really important for us. And I want to thank everybody. We've got a lot of people who've liked the live. We're almost at 3,000 likes. And thank you, Psychic War Titan. Feel free if you want to come up, if you want to talk about the sun with us. Panel is open if anybody else wants to come up and talk about the sun. So we're going to move on. I've got quite a few questions here. So, and just an FYI, I am live on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 8:30 p.m. Central and 6:30 p.m. Pacific, so 7:30 Mountain. So just if you want to know when to come and jump on and find me, that's when you can find me. And thank you so much, Psychic War Titan and Jess. Thank you. I really appreciate it because now we are at 3,000 likes. Woo! So, all right. To celebrate the sun. So this is a tougher question. So, and feel free, if you don't want to come up on panel, but you want to answer the questions, please feel free to do it in the chat. I'd love to, hear some different opinions too. So this question really goes to, how does your spiritual or religious practice view the sun? So that can be really in depth. That can be really intense question. Azrael, are you ready for that one?
Yeah, I'm ready for it. But you know what? It's going to be straight to the point. I don't think any of my religious paths ever encouraged the sun, and none of my beliefs in the current, as far as any tech books, from the book, nothing has ever drawn me. Or hey, Darius, the panel's open if you want to come up here. Yeah, none of the stuff that I have worked with have encouraged me to work with the sun. A lot of it was self awareness and understanding, there's more to it than leads the eye. It's observing some of these religious books and stuff like that, where you can look at some of the icons or whatever you want to call them, and you see the glow around them. And when you eliminate the figure, you realize that that figure behind it was always the sun. The sun was always behind, whether it's a masculine or a feminine image. If you ever looked at the glow behind them, it's always the sun. So I think, in plain sight, it was hidden, but there's just so much, especially, like yourself, Rowan, individuals that work with energy healing, where does this energy come from? The energy is coming from somewhere, and it's so evident that it is that. But, that's straightforward. Like I said, I have not been encouraged by anything that I've read or any religion ever led me to the sun. I think, it's my ancestral bloodline within me that actually is speaking and telling me that's where I need to go.
That's so beautiful. Thank you, Azrael. Welcome, Psychic War Titan. Do you want to answer the question? I know it's a tough one. It's how does your spirit, have you ever worked with a spiritual tradition or religion? And what is the view on the sun?
Thanks for having me. I'm having trouble with Wi-Fi issues, and they finally called me back after all day waiting to hear from them. And so I finally get a call, and now it's not letting me answer the call.
Oh no. Well, if you need to drop down and come back, go for it. Cause yeah, like
So
Wi-Fi's
I'm trying to, if I can get them, they're trying to call one more time, and so hopefully it'll go. It's like because it's not connecting, and I've been having trouble issues with Wi-Fi all day, and then now my phone it doesn't want to answer calls or take calls, and so like it's been funny. It's been a very perplexing day, and so like
wow. That's not cool.
right.
We
But
rely
my
on
view on the sun, I want to see that now they're calling me from this phone. I wanted to answer the question. Give me one. I'll be right back.
okay. Yeah, go ahead and answer. I can answer the question. We'll let you answer it when you're up. So I like that you said that, Azra. So okay, so I'm gonna comment on so I always thought when I saw, because so growing up in the Mormon religion, they didn't have like Mother Mary, like with the pictures and the Jesus pictures they had in the church. There was like maybe one that had the sun halo, and I wondered, like, is that the sun? Is that supposed to be the sun? And it wasn't something that actually the Mormon religion talked about. And I think that's like a really valid point that you did that. So here's like a really intense conversation that we can have. So when Christianity was sweeping through Europe, it took a lot of the pagan gods that had horns and they covered, like, so some of the old, we're talking many, many centuries old, they covered the horns with the halo. All right. But clearly the halo and like modern day pictures, it's clearly like, as you brought that up, I'm like, yeah, the modern day pictures, it's clearly a sun. So were they covering up the horns with the sun? I mean, there's something for us to think about. Like, I mean, that's kind of
Well,
intense.
right, they can't hide everything, and the thing about it, that's what I said, there was just something about me, excuse me, and like I said, especially, I was brought up as a Roman Catholic, so we went to the church, and we were able to observe different things on the walls. And I spend most of the time looking at the windows, the mosaic on the windows, looking around and looking at all these things. That's where my eyes were. What was going in front of me was boring, so my eyes were, let me see what I catch. So I was always observing, and I ingested all that, because I know a lot is in a picture. Remember how they say there's a million stories in each picture, and that's the thing about it. We're told one thing. And I think, it comes from a level where 2,000, 3,000 years ago, I don't know, people, not everybody could read, not everybody could talk. So there was only one wise man or a shaman or somebody, a leader of a group that knew the wisdom, knew the knowledge, and everybody else, you know what, don't worry about it, I'll tell you. So it's my interpretation. So they fed us one interpretation of what it was, and yes, many things were covered, and then and to stop us from questioning it, let's just point blank just make it as simple as possible. I'm going to cover this, and you don't need to know if there's horns and stuff like that, because the horns could be just like that crescent moon behind you. You know, Sometimes the crescent moon is the horns, and that's the thing about it. People are misled in many ways, and it's up to us as the individuals to gain as much knowledge, firsthand experience, and also, yeah, you could read, but a lot comes down to what resonates with you in your heart. If you have to fight somebody and say, you know what, this is what I see, and they are repulsive and don't want to hear you, don't entertain that. Just allow yourself to give yourself that patience, give yourself that time, and in due time you will see individuals or another story that will collaborate with what you feel, and that's how you know the truth. So yes, it's deep. I love that concept, and the idea of the sun and everything, but I definitely believe it was taken away from us because it was so simple. It was free energy, free healing, holistic energy right in front of our faces on a day to day.
Yeah, it really, and well, when you think about it, a lot of the herbs that are associated with the sun, um, I mean, they are very healing. Like when we look at like marigolds, for example, calendula, we use those in a lot of spells. We use them in a lot of healing energies. They're used a lot in tinctures and salves. So it is, I mean, we do need the sun. And most flowers open in the sunlight. There are like those few that do open in the moonlight, but most of them open. Like I love, like, so when you go out really early, right before the sun comes out, you go outside when the dandelions are coming up, and I'm talking the yellow ones, not when they turn white and they're ready for your wishes, but the yellow ones. If you go outside, like right as the sun is coming up, right before it hits, and sit and watch, because the dandelion, when it's ready, it closes up at night. So when the sun goes down, it starts to close. And then in the morning, it just opens up, and then you get to see that beautiful, bright yellow of the dandelion. So it is really amazing how it does that, like how the sun invigorates it and wakes it up. And that's what most of the flowers do, but I have actually sat and watched. So take some time. Dandelions are starting to pop through the ground. So find a local dandelion and make friends. So, but something else religiously. So since the question is about spiritual and religion, in Genesis in the Bible, and it has been I used to have to read it like it was like all the time, and you probably did too, Azrael, when we were little. So it has been a long time since I've read it, but I do recall, like, in Genesis, like God made the sun and God made the moon. So it is brought up, but it's not like you would go to like church on Sunday and they would talk about the sun, as the sun in our sky. I mean, they talk about the sun as in Jesus, but they wouldn't talk about like the sun, unless they were talking about the creation. And that's the only time I can recall it being brought up. It really is. It's really the only time I can recall that. But if anybody else has experience when we're looking at Christianity with any topics on the sun, please feel free if you want to jump up on panel, or if you want to put your comments in the chat. And I did see a comment. I was just gonna yes, and Jess said yes, behind the images is the sun, at least that's what it looks like. That's definitely what they use, probably because maybe the sun is softer than the crescent moon being set as a set of horns or deer horns. I mean, it is softer. It's that life-giving, and okay, so we shouldn't stare at the sun, right? Like they tell us it's bad for our eyes, but it's so beautiful, right? So, but spiritually, like now for me, spiritually, there's lots of myths. My magical practice is a little different. I follow my ancestral magic. And so I practice Celtic and Nordic magic. So I've kind of intertwined the two together. And so there are a lot of sun gods and sun goddesses in both practices. But I also do Egyptian Reiki, which is Sasekam Sahu Reiki, and it is given to you by the Egyptian goddess of the sun, Sekhmet. So I happen to use both the sun and the moon in my personal spiritual practice, but that's like my practice. So I talked about earlier. I talked about ways we can incorporate the sun in our mundane and magical practices. Oh, and I see that Jess is saying, I don't remember them ever talking about the moon either. Yeah. Yeah, I think just in Genesis, like where it says, and he created the sun, and he created, it was day and sun and night and moon. And then that's kind of like it, like we don't see it anymore. So it kind of disappears then, it's not important. Now, in Hinduism is very intertwined with yoga, and we've got the sun and the moon salutations. So, you would do the moon salutation after the sun has gone down, and you're supposed to do the sun salutation in the morning when the sun is rising. So, and if anybody practices Hinduism, I studied a little bit of it because when I was on my spiritual journey, I was like, what is my spiritual path? So I read a lot I did read Hinduism, but it has been a long time, and I didn't read everything. I just kind of took little bits and pieces that I liked and was like, oh, I like that, and I like that. But I do know for a fact that most Hindus do practice the yoga sun salutation and the yoga moon salutation. So yeah, if anybody else has anything they want to share on that question, Azrael, anything you want to comment on what I've said?
No, you're doing pretty good. I just don't want anybody to be intimidated. Jess, if you want to come up here or anybody else wants to come up here, because it's good to hear different perspectives, But you did mention something while you were talking about the sun and the sun gazing, and you did made a reference earlier. You're going to talk about sun gazing. So I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It was very brief. Yes. So sun gazing is a meditative practice where you actually. So I mean, a lot of times when we meditate, we close our eyes. I am an eye closer when I meditate. Most of the time, I'll say. But when we sun gaze, it's meditating by looking at the sun, and it is best to do it either at dawn, at sunset, at sunrise, or sunset. And it is a way to connect energetically with the sun. It's also, I think part of the reason we also do it there is because at the middle of the day, if we gaze at it too long, it probably would. I mean, let's be honest. If we stare at something too long, it can make us a little loopy, and the sun being really bright, my lights that I have in here so that you can see me decent. If I have them wrong, I'll be like, oh, I can't see, because the lights are really bright. Well, we can run into that. But sun gazing is really a way to connect energetically to the sun. And it's what my understanding is it's supposed to help us connect with nature. And it does. But I feel like the nature it helps us connect with is the cosmos and the universe. Whereas when I'm meditating specifically with the earth, where I've got my bare hands flat on the ground, on the dirt, and I might be sitting near a tree, or I'm sitting on the ground, I'm really concentrating on that earth energy. But when you are sun gazing, you're concentrating on the sun. So it's really taking you to the universe. It's taking us outside of the earth realm. So we get that bigger, that more divine illumination. And I mean, I personally feel when I've done it that I have a stronger connection to the divine wisdom and the divine knowledge. There's so much more out there. And you think about it, the sun's not super close. So we're meditating with something that's far away, and we're getting that energy, and we're bringing that energy and building that beautiful energy that we get from the sun. And also when we sun gaze, it is a very strong healing energy. So we especially need it right now. We're getting out of winter if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, and we need that vitamin D. We cannot survive. So your body will not process calcium if you do not have vitamin D. So we have to have that vitamin D, and that goes for anything that has skeletal system. So, I mean, like a slug doesn't have a skeleton, but, whales have it, sharks have it. They get a little bit of light, they go up to the surface, but everything has it. Owls, birds, humans, we need that. And so our bones actually become very frail and fragile when we don't get that sunlight. So health wise, we really need it. So it's really, really important that we work with the sun, and sun gazing is a really great way we can do that. Oh, I love this comment. The universe, the galaxy, the stars light up the world. They don't talk about the realms. Yeah. And really, like, they take us to realms, right? I mean, they really do. And the sun kind of lights the way for everything if we think about it. When it hits any of the moons and the planets, it helps them shine a little brighter. I'm sure we shine brighter, and on another planet they're probably looking and going, what's that green and blue planet that's really close to the sun? Azrael, have you ever tried sun gazing, or anything you want to add on sun gazing?
Oh yeah, I wasn't. I always tried, as a kid and growing up, but I never really attempted to till last year, April 18th, last year when we had the solar eclipse. I got a pair of solar glasses to watch the eclipse, and I had two pairs, and I gave my neighbor a pair, and I had the other pair with me, and I was recording the event live, and one one hand was on the phone, and the other hand was I forgot what I was doing, but anyways, the my sunglasses fell down, so I didn't want to be rude because I'm actually live streaming it, so I just said, what the heck, and I just started to focus on the sun, and believe it or not, I was able to stare at the sun for 15 minutes with no problem. And maybe the eclipse helped out, but it not for that long. Trust me. So I observed a lot looking at the sun, and I learned to appreciate the sun because there's more to it. A lot of what we are been told by science and everything, are lies, and the sun is more powerful. And that's a good thing that you're talking about it. When we talk about the sun, not only we get the interpretation that it's a bright light up in the sky. It's more than just that. How they say in darkness there's light, and in light there's also darkness. And because the sun is up in the sky, and we do see that light, and when I say darkness, I don't mean evil. It's just, there's a portal within it. The sun is a portal. And I think when we connect and sun gaze to the sun, we are actually brought into the sun as sucked into the sun. In other words, we become one with it. How we talk about, when we are together and have unity with friends and family and members and significant others, we become one. In the same sense, when you sun gaze, you are actually becoming one with the sun, where it actually invites you into its soul. It's a living being just like we are, and we are actually sun gazing and connecting. And there's so much into it, and but yeah, I encourage it, but if you have never done it, maybe start where maybe 3 seconds, maybe put some glasses on 3 seconds, and then until you can actually train yourself. But a lot of it is conspiracy theory. A lot of it is dealt with some of the upper echelon organized groups, and they want to keep that away from us because the main factor is just like in free energy that is evident here, but they keep it away from us. So is the number one holistic tool that we can utilize, which is the sun, and our ability to see and gain wisdom from it. Because not only do we get help from it, but we gain wisdom from it. It's so much. It's so deep. This is a very deep topic.
It is. It is a very deep topic. I'm glad I didn't add extra planets. Because I was like, should I do multiple planets? I'm like, nah, we'll just do the sun. So, because yes, so next week the spiritual topic will be the moon. So join me for the moon next week. And then, so after that, we're going to do the 9 main planets, especially like I do practice the occult. And so we're going to talk about the energy that each planet brings us. So this is going to be really fun. I'm really excited to be able to do this. And welcome. I saw we got a bunch of new people joining. Please feel free. We're talking about the sun and the energy that the sun brings us and the beauty of the sun. We've just talked about sun gazing, and like Azriel, like you just said, yeah, if you're just starting out, don't like go, I'm going to do 15 minutes and stare at it for 15 minutes. You do need to get your eyes accumulated to it. So you want to make sure your eyes are accumulated. And I do recommend, I personally love doing it at sunset because it's not super strong, but there's like just this really, it's almost like an embracing, loving energy you get. So, like if you see that the sun's supposed to set at like 6:30, go out at like 5 so that it's not quite all the way down. So you have it like just at that perfect angle as it's going down. So it's like just perfect. And if you're in an area where you like face a mountain when the sun goes down, you're probably going to want to like grab it a little sooner than that. Like I knew when I grew up out on the West Coast, the mountains sometimes like would look really cool because the sun would go down and it's still light out, but the sun's hiding behind the mountain peaks. So yeah, if you're in a mountainous area where the sun sets behind the mountains, you'll want to definitely do that before. But you can also do it in the morning. So it is nice to do in the morning. So start with sunset or sunrise if you want to try sun gazing. And if anybody in the comments like has had an experience with sun gazing and you want to share, please feel free. You can jump up here on panel with us, or you can just put your comment in there because we love to share. That's why that's why I'm here. So, and I want to thank everybody. We just hit 6,000 likes. Thank you everybody who's liking the video, and thank you those who've given gifts. Like that's I really, really appreciate it. So, it's always sweet and kind. And just as a reminder, because I know we have a couple people who just popped in, Azriel will be going live. So when we're done here on my channel, you can pop over to Azriel's, and please don't forget to follow either of us because we do both go live. And I think Azriel's pretty cool.
and we know each other. We live in the same area. We've done ceremonies and rituals and all type of stuff.
Yep.
Well, we even sat down and eaten together.
Yes, we have. So yeah, so we have like a special friendship and a special bond. So that makes it kind of nice, sometimes I've met some pretty amazing people on in the spiritual community here on TikTok, but yeah, it's nice that we're so close and we can like go meet up and be on videos together. We can be like, hey, we're live streaming together. So, oh, this is cute. Okay. It just warms my soul. I have so much gratitude being able to sun gaze. I love that. That is, yes. You know what? The sun, you say the word gratitude, the sun really brings a lot of gratitude to us, right? At least I think of the sun and I think of gratitude. I don't know why, but like it just like how thankful are we? Like without it, we wouldn't have like beautiful flowers. We wouldn't have fruits and vegetables. We wouldn't have life. And I don't know about like I love running around in the summer barefoot. So, if we didn't have the sun, I couldn't run around barefoot because the ground would be too cold. So, yeah, I love that. It makes me happy and gives me breath. Yes, it definitely does. The sun is definitely good for that. So, let's see. Okay. So like this can be spiritual. We can take this on a spiritual, or we can take this on a scientific. We can take this anywhere. But here's like an intense question to think about. What are the environmental implications of our relationship with the sun? We've kind of like talked a little bit about some of that throughout the discussion. But yes, what are our environmental implications of our relationship? So, there we go, Azriel. Sorry, like with the two of us, we're going pretty fast.
Well, I think you said our valuable implications to nature with the sun.
our environmental implications
Yeah.
of our relationship with the sun. Yeah.
I think, due to the fact that the sun is there, it's a reminder that nature is there, and sometimes we overlook it with our fast pace, in our lives, because, we have responsibilities. But if you have a creek, a river, or somewhere around, and in darkness, you don't see how horrible it is. In the sunlight, we can observe and say, you know what, this pond used to be so clear, but now that I observe it under the sunlight, it needs attention. So it gives us the responsibility to bring awareness. So I think, as a responsibility for myself, you know, I will bring forth awareness, and say, you know what, either go to my council, my local aldermans or somebody, and say, you know what, people are littering, or what, something is not going on right, where people are actually polluting the water, whether it's a factory, you know. And so I think, application of the sun and what we need to do, the sun brings shine. In other words, it's a spotlight, you know. So I think, we have to use it not only as a tool, as a holistic tool where we can actually benefit from it, but also it reminds us that, not everything is going to stay in darkness. And if it's being exposed, you have to bring attention forth. If you have bought a home, let's hypothetically say you bought a home, and needless to say, your home is being eaten by termites. It's the attention. That sun is there to show you. Is shining a light. In other words, bring your awareness. Don't rely on things just to be. You have to create action, and the sun is inspiring you, that because the sun is up there, it's part of the spiral of life, the cycles of life, spring, summer, fall, and all that. It's a reminder that you have to put action to it, and you have to start somewhere, and like you stated, earlier, just with this, just like starting with stargazing, sunset and sunrise are the best, and that's the start. It gets more complex to see it at noon, and that's where we have to utilize the sun. The sun is an example that we have to start sunrise. At one point or another, we have to arise and make that first initial step in order to progress, in order for us to fulfill our highest peak, which will be when we are in our prime, and I'm not talking in age, but in our prime element of in tune with nature, in tune with ourselves, in tune with our everything and all. So it's stepping, but the sun, I think, plays that role. It shines and letting you know that we have to put attention to something, and it could be us too, because I could go into the bathroom and, oh, I look real nice. I'm gonna go out, in the public, and I never turn on the lights, but I'm assuming because I got a glimpse of myself. But when I turn on that light, I would double say, I don't look, I gotta shave, I gotta look a little bit more better, and that's the thing about it. So the sun will give you the details that one needs.
Yeah, it does. Actually, it was funny. I was talking to my boss the other day, and my day job, my desk, I have like a giant window in my front room, and the morning sun comes up because my house faces east. And then there's like a side window. So I have natural lighting. And she's like, "You don't have a light on while you're working?" And I'm like, "I don't need it. Like the sun is my light." And I literally, I just when we have gloomy days here in Chicago, do I turn on my light because I can use the sun. I don't need to use that. Um, but I mean, I know like this is a spiritual topic, but spiritually, we are damaging our earth. And, the sun does have the ultraviolet rays. And if we continue to damage our earth, they will become hazardous for us. So they will become deadly for us. And so we need to make sure we're balancing how we work with it. But I did like your analogy of the creek, because it like was making me think about how when right now this time of year, as the sun is out more, it's melting snow in the mountains. And I grew up in the Rocky Mountains, and this time of year was when you want to go like I was always hiking up in the mountains, but you have to be like so careful if there's like a stream or a river, because the snow melts is pretty fierce from the hot, because this, it hasn't had, I mean, the sun's been out, but it's not out for as many hours, and it's hotter now. And so as it's getting hotter and it's out longer, it's melting the snow. And, when you watch that, it makes the environment more treacherous. And I can't even tell you when I was a kid how many kids would like go to throw a rock in the river and get swept away because they were just like a little too close. And that spring melt just would sweep you away, and it's very easy to drown. So, when we're looking at it, the sun has its role that it plays. I mean, this is how our crops get water, is by the snow melting. And most farmers like look for that. Like I know, like where I grew up on the mountain, on the Rocky Mountain, the farmers called it the crow's foot, and it looked like a crow's foot with the different peaks of the mountain coming together. And if the crow's foot wasn't full of snow, so when spring was starting to melt, if there still wasn't snow in the crow's foot, they knew that it was going to be a drought and that there wasn't going to be very, very good crops. Like the sun will be out, but there's not going to be the water to fill it. But if the crow's foot was full of snow, that there wasn't going to be a drought, that we would have good crops. So we have signs like that, and the sun gives us the signs. So I love that observation, Azrael, because yeah, we have to look. The sun is our biggest light bulb. It's there to show us what we can see. And you think about it, like how powerful is it that it's not like super close to our moon, but it shines its light on our moon. And during the full moon, I mean, like I love to walk around in the full moon, and you don't need a flashlight when the full moon is out. Like, it's almost, you can see quite well, but it's because of the power of the sun and the sun shining on the moon's surface, which is amazing. But, when it's not full moon, like we have new moon coming up. So right now it's really dark outside. If we go outside, we got to have a flashlight because we're not going to be able to see. And, we need to be more careful when we can't see, because that's when things happen, that accidents can happen. But I think that, the environmental implications, they can affect our spiritual practice if we think about it, because if we damage things to where the sun heats us up and burns us, like when you're in the desert, you have to be really careful. And think actually, and like thinking about the desert, like when you're on the west coast of the United States, in the daytime, it can be like, 110, 120 in the desert. And then at night, as soon as that sun goes down, the temperature just drops so drastically. I know somebody who actually got hypothermia in like July in the desert because they didn't have like a decent sleeping bag, and they got hypothermia and passed away because the temperature drops so much in the desert. And you think about it, the sun actually, like, I love lizards and stuff. So we'll see lizards sunbathing because they want to get that warmth, because as soon as that sun goes down, and they're always on a rock because the rocks hold that heat, and they'll stay on and near those rocks that are really, really hot from the sun to keep them warm in, the summer evenings, so that they have that heat. So the sun is really important, I think, environmentally. And like when you think about it, like our environment for the sun would be similar to our body. So the environment of the earth would be the body, and the energy would clearly be like the spirit. So what would the mind be? Azrael, there you go. I'm going to let you answer. What would the mind be for the sun?
Our mind be for the sun, or
Yeah. If the earth is like the body for the sun, and the energy the sun gives is the spiritual aspect, what would the mind part be?
well, the mind part. Are you referring it to an item, or what is our mind, or what would the mind be?
Yeah,
I think the mind.
what would the mind be for the earth's association with the sun, or the environmental working with the sun on a spiritual level?
Okay. Well, it goes deep, and it's quick. I can quickly give you this experiment. It's closing one eye. If you close one eye, all right, choose one eye and look at your tip of your nose. Can you see the tip of your nose?
Yes.
And then if you look down, you can see your hands, you can see your feet, you can see your legs, you can see everything. You can even look around. You might be able to see, rear and everything. You can see everything. But if you look upwards, you cannot see your forehead. You know.
Yeah. Okay.
So the mind is everything above your eyes. Everything around you is your mind. So the connection between the sun and the earth is the ether. Everything all around us is our mind. Think about it. We're limited to our thoughts and belief that we're just one physical being. But when everything and all is connected, you realize that it was all in your head. Think about it. It's all in your head. I close one eye. People talk about that one eye, the all-seeing eye and everything, and make it a conspiracy out of it. But it's us to utilize that one eye tool to see how we separate ourselves from the physical and become spiritual and universal is by closing that one eye and observing our physical body, and then try to look at our forehead and look at ourselves. We can't look at ourselves as a whole body. We are part of everybody. We're the everything. So the connection between the earth and the sun is the ether, and that's how we connect through our mind.
So there's like a cool concept. So like, okay, I'm throwing this out to everybody when we're looking, and actually like this, it came to me as we were talking. We can take the sun and actually say, what are the sun's mind, body, and spirit? So as we go through each of the planets, as we go through the moon and Mercury and Mars and Jupiter and Saturn and Pluto, as I go through those over the next 9 weeks, let's think about like what the mind, body, and spirit are for each planet. But I love your analogy. That was so cool. I hope everybody that was watching, I hope you guys did the exercise because I was doing it. So, it really does even get you thinking too. So, but yes, it's definitely, I love that. I love that analogy. That is so beautiful. Ooh. Like I haven't, like all the classes I've taken, all the books I've read, working magically with the planets, no one's ever done the mind, body, and spirit. And as we were sitting there, I was like, holy smokes, like just the question of what are the environmental implications that just like, for some reason it sparked that. So, also Azrael, a lot of times when you and I are together, it makes, I feel like we think really deep anyway, but like it just kind of compacts and just explodes like the sun.
Well, see, that's the thing about it. I like to talk about critical thinking. I like to look at things outside the box, because the way we were taught and the way that they showed us, especially they try and doctor us, into religion and specific beliefs and limiting our potential, including our imagination. Our imagination is stripped away from us when we're 12 years old. Once we're reaching our teens, oh, you can't stop, you can't be imaginating. And they make fun of us. Look at this guy in his la la land making it up, what, and they strip away that. But, think about it. Anything and all that exists, it took somebody to use their imagination to come up with the concept. And these concepts are always embedded in us. We have this already. We just need to acknowledge it. And sometimes we need others to help us find this. So we need to spark one another. We need to be the sun, the light in darkness. When it's dark out here and somebody's crying because they just broke up with their loved one, you become the sun for them. And that's the connection. Remember? And that's the key. The key is we become the light for each one. And wisdom is part of that. Our experiences and these trials and tribulations and the things that we go through might not be for us. It might be for the next person. But because I help the next person, that person is going to cause a chain reaction. And eventually somebody's going to walk in the paths in front of me and say, you know what? I know what you need. You need a joke. You need a smile. You need something to acknowledge you. So, it's deep, but it starts with the sun. The sun is the representation of the spiral of life. We can take the point of the sun at that point, where the spiral starts, and it's been proven. There's images here on here when you can see it spiraling in the sky. It does spirals in the sky. The sun doesn't go one way or another. Depending on the season, it might be here, it might be there, it might be all around. So it's observation, and the spiral of life is part of the sun cycle, the part of our cycle.
Yes, it is. It is. I love that. The sun is the soul itself. Yes, it is. The sun is the soul. And we feel its energy. We get to feel like that. It's like it's tendrils of energy leave the sun and touch us with a little bit of love. And we just have to kind of sometimes miss out on it daily in the winter. Actually, this winter was like really nice. I feel like we had a lot more sun, which was so nice and pleasant. It makes winter a little bit easier, even if we only have a couple hours of sunlight. It makes it, well, I guess we get more than a couple hours here. It's Alaska gets just a couple hours, but we do get a little bit of more sunlight here. So yes, the sun is just amazing. So I want to thank everybody. We are over 7,000 hearts. So thank you so much for liking the live. If you are not following Azriel or myself, please make sure to follow. And I am live here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 p.m. Mountain, and 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. So yeah, I know it's like right as you're getting off work if you're on the West Coast, but wonderful. So glad everybody is here. So Azriel will be going live in about 15 minutes on his channel. So Azriel, I know like if you need to get ready, no hard feelings if you want to jump down, but do you want to say anything like a goodbye or anything? Because I mean, not that I'm pushing you away, but if you do need to jump
Yeah,
down.
you know what? I think I should because I'm actually haven't eaten, so I think I should make some dumpling soup or something. And I appreciate you allowing me be here. It was a great discussion, and I look forward to hearing more. And for those that are down there, please feel free to ask questions down there. And we'll be here every Thursday. Rowan will give you the details. I appreciate everybody's time and listening in. Just always take notes. Don't deprive yourself of losing this wisdom. Use a piece of paper, a pad, a recorder, whatever you got, and take notes and use it to self-reflect and maybe see how you can utilize it as part of your tools and integrate with it. But Rowan, thank you so much. Much love and gratitude.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, and I'll see you soon. I'll see you soon.
Yes. So if I don't make panel, because last week I know I didn't make it up on
Well,
panel and
yeah,
I did
they fill up pretty
I'll
quick.
always be there.
Well, I'll try to open up 8 boxes. I'll try
Okay.
to.
Sounds
We're gonna, like I said, it's the dance of time. So it's gonna be orchestrated, but then again, we're gonna just jump back and forth all through it. And it'll be like a real life Back to the Future episode.
Sweet. Because we want that, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Azriel. And
My pleasure. Marry me.
Yep. Merry meet white blessings.
Yes.
And namaste.
Namaste. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.
Yep. All right. So everybody, when we're done here, you can jump on and see Azriel's live because his Azriel does go live on Thursdays right after I do. So he does usually jump down about now so that he can get ready and such. So this has been a really wonderful discussion on the sun. I'm really looking forward to the rest of them. Next week is the moon, and then I'll probably do Mars the week after that just because Aries is associated with Mars. So the sun is associated with the astrological sign Leo. I did say it at the beginning, but I know we've had a lot of people coming and going. So I want to make sure if you know. So shout out to the Leos. Sorry, I'll be a little goofy. Sometimes I get goofy, but that's because I'm an Aries. So you get that fat passion and fire with me. Oh, there we go. We have an Aries rising. Yay! Aries energy. I love fire energy. Fire energy is fun. So, and actually, it's enjoyable to be around other fire signs, even if it's in one of your houses. So, and I want to thank everybody who has come tonight. So, I'm gonna kind of get ready to wrap up, but if you have questions, please feel free to toss them in the chat. So tonight was all about the sun and the beautiful life energy that the sun is for us. And we can use this in our spiritual practice. So regardless of if you practice a specific religion or you practice a spiritual path, we can incorporate the energy and the life that the sun has for us. And it really does. It gives us so much vitality and brings us so much enlightenment. I mean, we do get knowledge from the sun. And like I said, like my favorite thing, I mean, I love it. Like I love if you can catch it in the morning to watch the dandelions as they open up as the sun comes out. It is just such a beautiful sight. It's like so fascinating to see. So, grab a nice hot cup of tea or a hot cup of coffee. And as dandelions are starting to poke through the ground, find a dandelion and go out and watch it one morning. I know, like right now it's still a little bit cold. Like I said, I'm only seeing them starting to pop through the ground now. My crocuses are up, but they don't have the magic. I mean, dandelions literally are one of the most magical plants, and dandelion is actually also associated with the sun. So I was talking about the marigolds, but also dandelion is associated with the sun. And when you look at a marigold or a calendula and you look at the dandelion, they do look like little mini suns because they're just so bright. Even when you have like an orange calendula, they look like the sun too, because sometimes the sun looks orange to us. Sometimes it's yellow. And that's why like oranges and lemons are actually also associated with the sun. And, again, like all the spices associated with like Yule, which is in the literal on winter, right? Because that's when winter solstice is. All of those herbs associated are literally associated with the sun. And that's the time of the year when we have the least amount of sun. So when we're adding cinnamon and we're adding allspice and star anise and cloves, those are all herbs and spices associated with the sun. And so when you think about it, even peppers, they're associated with the sun. It's hot, spicy, and warm. Those are our plants and our foods that are associated with the sun. And I did touch on a couple of the crystals, so citrine, sunstone, actually yellow jasper, and I love yellow jasper. It just has such a beautiful color to it. Calcite is associated. Amber is actually associated with the sun too. I actually have my green amber ring on, but I always have it on, so you'll see it every week. So we have a lot of beautiful things in nature that are associated with the sun and with that beautiful energy. So I do want to thank everybody. I'm going to wrap up tonight. I don't see any other questions in there. So next week will be the moon. And then I'm going to do Mars after that. So for the next 9 Thursdays, it's going to be a planet, how you can incorporate the planet into your spiritual practice. And if you want to come up on panel, please feel free to join on Thursdays on TikTok. And you can come up on panel. Sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit. And just a reminder, I will be live on Sunday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 p.m. Mountain, and 6:30 p.m. Pacific. And Sundays are specifically Witchy Book Club. And the book we are doing, and this book will be through all of April and May, is The Anatomy of the Spirit. It's by Carolyn Miss, and it's the 7 stages of power and healing. Carolyn bases this off of the Hindu chakras, Christian sacraments, and the Jewish Kabbalist tree of life. So, and this is a really great book. We're doing a chapter a week. And so that will be, the discussion is on TikTok. If you want to join my Patreon, I do a deep dive on Tuesday nights. So you can grab the deep dive and watch it. It's at the $5 tier level, and you can join my Patreon. It is one of the links in my bio. So please feel free to go over there if you want to join my Patreon. And then you can get everything you want, right? So we can all grow together. I want to thank everybody who was here from the spiritual community tonight. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, everybody, for the hearts and for the gifts. I so appreciate it. And I'm so glad that you spent your Thursday evening with me. And I look forward to spending Sunday and Tuesday and Thursday with you over the next week. Thank you again for all the hearts. And if you are not following me, please make sure to follow me. And as always, merry meet, merry part, bright blessings, and namaste.